Welcome to Uniquely Brilliant, a podcast for creative, quirky, and extraordinary thinkers of all ages and the people who love them. We encourage, inspire, and provide strategies to motivate you to embrace your unique brilliance and realize your potential for success. Hi, I'm Diana Bader, also known as Coach Di. I encourage teens and young adults to become who they are and develop personal success through self-awareness and positivity. You can find me at freshcanvascoaching.com, follow and like the Fresh Canvas Facebook page, or follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Di.
Hello there, I'm Becky Berry. I am a performance coach who helps people level up their lives by smoothing out the relationship between their work lives and their personal lives. You can find my website at beckyberrycoach.com. I'm on Twitter at Becky Berry Coach, and you can find me on my Facebook page, Becky Berry Coach.
Together we are here sharing our thoughts, insights, and experiences from our own uniquely brilliant perspective. All right, it's episode 102 for you.
Oh my gosh, 102 episodes. That's like unbelievable.
And today we're going to talk about communications.
Why would we want to talk about that?
Well, by the time this posts, it should be somewhere around a holiday. And everybody will be interacting with people on a...
Right.
Some people they haven't seen in a while. Some people that they have no clue how to interact with.
Right.
They just kind of try to avoid.
Right. I think understanding the different ways that people communicate and respond to communications. It's not just about how they communicate. It's about how they respond to certain ways. I think that can really help us avoid those traps that we fall into with those people we just don't know how to communicate with.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And when you go in, it's like having, your own toolbox. When you go in knowing a little bit more about communication, then you're going to have a more enjoyable time.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. And it carries over into all facets of your life. I mean, there's nothing that it doesn't touch.
Well, because communication is that important.
Right. So we decided we'd use three frameworks that we're really familiar with because we use them a lot in our coaching and in our lives. So we're gonna concentrate on the 4 basic communication styles from DISC. We're going to talk about the 4 tendencies from Gretchen Rubin, and we're going to talk about love languages.
Yep, there's 5 of those.
Right? Yeah. So there we go. So we've got 4, 4, 5. Mm-hmm. All right. So why don't you lead up? You're the DISC specialist. Why don't you start off with DISC?
Well, gosh, it's been a while since we've talked about DISC, actually, now that I think about it.
But we throw it in.
Yeah, we do.
We'll throw it in, and I'm sure people are going, what?
Well, and a lot of times we reference the DISC as far as a personality style, but those with those personality styles also communicate certain ways.
Yeah, so what are the 4 styles?
Well, there's...
The 4 thingies. I don't know what you call them in DISC.
Well, what's interesting to me about DISC is everybody uses different words for them. So one of the ones for communication that I just kind of grabbed off the web had the Relator. Relator. Yeah, I like that better. Relator. The Relator.
Realtor is somebody who sells real estate, so Relator probably works better.
Kind of both, but
yeah.
The Relator, which would be the S of the DISC.
Okay, so steadiness. Is it steadiness? Okay,
usually, yeah. The Initiator is the I. That's
influence.
The influence, and that's the one that's kind of the more party one. The Analyzer, which is the C.
Compliant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then the Director, which is the D.
Dominant. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and so when you can see that play out if you kind of step back at a party. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can see some of that playing out. There's the Relator is the one that's sitting there having the deeper conversations, on the couch somewhere in a corner, maybe like that.
Well, how's that different from the Initiator?
The Initiator is usually the one getting the party started.
Oh, okay.
The Initiator, maybe handling the playlist to get people out on the dance floor,
Okay.
or making sure everybody's got hors d'oeuvres, or
Yeah.
they're flitting around. They're not sitting still.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Ever.
All right. All right.
And then
I identify with that one. Okay.
the analyzer is the one kind of sitting back, taking it all in, maybe joining in for a little bit and then going back. And then the director is the one that's making sure the food's coming out at the right time, that everybody has their drink full, and just going around. They move around quite a bit too.
So
They're a more active one.
is the director, is that like the person who expects it to go a certain way? That is highly invested in, this is the way it should be, and let's make it happen that way? Like more controlling of the circumstances?
Yeah, usually, but sometimes the difference between like an analyzer and a director is the analyzer would see things playing out a certain way and be more attached to it, whereas a director would be like, okay, this is playing out, and then if they see something not working or not kind of going the way they want it to, they can kind of shift gears and make something else happen.
So how do you communicate? How does that change the way you communicate?
With that person?
Mm-hmm. With like their director. So give me an example at Thanksgiving dinner of a director. We'll just like tie it. We'll just like draw a straight line.
Okay. The director is the one that says, turn off the football game. Dinner is served. Everybody come here.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
This is when we're having dinner. This is how we're having dinner. Whatever. Everybody around the table.
Relator. What would they do? I know this is like a gross simplification, but I think it's really good to like really connect, because then we can like sit back and go, oh yeah, I know that person.
The relator, and it's so funny because I haven't had like a real Thanksgiving dinner in a long time, but one of the ones for the relator that I think of is when I was growing up, my one neighbor would have us all grab hands, so everybody's connected.
Oh yeah,
and do the blessing.
Okay.
They would be, or go around and say what they're thankful for. They would kind of, initiate
so building
some
that
sort
relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Foster that relationship. Okay. What happens? What happens if somebody doesn't want to do it? How does the relator handle it? Usually?
You know what? A relator, it doesn't really bother them.
Okay.
They're the one that's the most laid back.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's what they would have been like. We'll come eat at halftime. Mm-hmm. It's okay. Everybody's going, no, the game is still on. Okay, what if we eat at halftime? Is that them?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put it in the warming drawer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That kind, definitely that. If they were the hostess, that they would be the, oh, okay. Oh, what's the score? And probably come sit down and join everybody. So, let's see. The analyzer would be the one that's probably the most picky about what they're eating.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, does the green bean have nuts in it? What kind of nuts? Asking a lot of the questions. Oh, how did you make that? They'll want to know a lot of those kind of things.
Well, how do they interact with other people?
They're just more about facts. And, they're the ones, if you're watching the football game, they're the ones that know all the stats.
Okay.
And can probably have a little bit, they're the ones paying attention to the score.
Okay. Yeah.
If other people aren't, they'll be the first ones to tell you that.
Okay.
And then who else would we see? Oh, the initiator.
Yeah.
They're the one that's going to make it fun.
Yeah.
So if the relator didn't do like, what are we most thankful for? They're going to make a game out of it. And maybe have a stuffed animal turkey and toss it around the table to make it a little more of a game.
Okay. All
right. You tell us now what your favorite thing is.
So if you're a director, how would you communicate with an initiator?
Well, both of them...
Do you know if they make you crazy? Right?
Yeah.
If they make you crazy.
One of the things about directors and initiators are they're both active. They're both much more active communicators. So they're the ones... They'd have to like sort of rein the initiator in. Okay. If they're having way too much fun. To try to do what the director wants to do. So they might be the initiator might be the one.
Well, the turkey tossing could get out of hand. Yeah. I can just picturing that.
There's a lot of things.
Sounds like fun, but okay. So
there's a lot
so
of
we can
things
just use that. I mean, because you used that example, I thought it was brilliant. So what would the director do? How do you recognize the director?
Oh, the director's probably the most easy of everybody to recognize
because they're directing things.
Yeah, because they have a certain time frame, and they, they've got a schedule. want to stay on, and but at the same time they can be very innovative. So, but they're innovative in their way.
Yeah. Is it like a more linear way maybe than the Initiator is, or is that too far-fetched?
No, well, it depends. They're more.
Well, because everybody's a combination of all four.
Yeah,
I mean, we should say that, you know, and that's obvious. But I'm just thinking for people who aren't familiar with it, and they go, "Oh, well, but what do I do if I don't like that?"
I think communicating wise, the director is probably the one that is making sure all the cogs are moving the way they want the cogs to move.
Okay.
Where all the guests are going, where they need to go. You know.
But you're saying they're still flexible.
They can be. If something happens, if the turkey burns or whatever, they'll be the one like right there
Figuring it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Calling up.
Thinking on their feet? Yeah. Okay. All right. So just given some direction.
Yeah.
So, okay. And so, obviously, that could be taken to an extreme.
Oh, everything can be
where
taken
it's
to an
so
extreme.
controlling. Well, but we know that we're talking about Thanksgiving.
Well, that's true. We're talking about families.
We're
and things
talking
like
about
that.
families.
Yes.
And there's the word control, and it lurks in every holiday celebration, particularly the ones that are so fraught, like Halloween and, you know, whatever Christmas holidays, winter holidays you celebrate, because there are people who have a way they want it to go, and if it doesn't go that way, and this used to be me, then they get all like wrapped around the axle and unpleasant.
Yes. It can be. And if there's certain members of the family that really rub those people the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, if that's where the relator comes in, because they usually are the ones smoothing things out.
Mm-hmm. So then they become the mediator.
Always.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes the initiator would be the one who would be, trying to distract.
Right.
Let's you come over here.
Okay.
You go separate corners. Let's do something.
So the advantage of having people with all these different types is that in any kind of situation, they can all balance each other out. Mm-hmm. Same thing at work. You need people who have these, different approaches to communications and to problem solving to have an effective business.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So those are Relator, Initiator, Analyzer, Director. I like that. We said the Relator is like a mediator. The Initiator's the fun person. They're the fun.
They brought the party.
I have a stuffed. Oh, you've seen this. Where you thought of this? I have a stuffed turkey. You know that? Well, you've seen it. Stuffed turkey. So I immediately thought of the stuffed turkey. So yeah, that cracked me up. All right, Analyzer. All right, they're just checking things out, and then asking those questions, and then the director's making sure it all happens. Really.
Yeah, the analyzer too is the one who follows the recipe like to a T.
Yeah.
And, the stuffing is ruined if it's missing an ingredient.
Yeah.
It's not right.
Yeah. Okay, so that's more of like a black and white way of thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Mm-hmm. So you need somebody who can go in there and, like, joke them out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I like that one. Well, the next one we're going to do is the 4 tendencies, and this is one of my favorite frameworks because it has something in here. A test is an obliger. But if she did a subtest, my obliger and rebel would be at the same place. Mm-hmm. I'm totally certain of this. So this is Gretchen Rubin's framework. She has a book about it out called The 4 Tendencies. I listen to her podcast, Happier, all the time. This is like her 4th book. And we were just watching some videos about the tendencies
that
she made in 2013. So she's just refined how she talks about it, and I love it, and it just really makes so much sense to me. I'm going to start with the rebel, because the fewest people are the rebel. And this framework talks about how people respond to expectations. Mm-hmm. Inner expectations, I can do what I set out, meet my own goals. Outer expectations is complying with what other people want you to do. And the rebel, this is the quote, like she has cups for this, right? The quote for the rebel is, "You can't make me, and neither can I." And that is me, right there. Obligers, on the other hand, meet outer expectations, which means if you say, "Becky, we're going to post the podcast on Wednesday," I'll do it because I don't want to let you down. But if I say, hey, Becky, you're going to walk, for an hour every day, yeah, no, not going to happen. Because, I mean, it's part of it's just the obliger, but the other part of it for me is no, So there's rebel and
your worst accountability partner.
I am. An upholder, which is the second rarest, meets inner and outer expectations. One of my sisters is an upholder. These can be very intimidating people. A lot of very successful entrepreneurs are upholders because they don't have to meet somebody else's expectations. They can do their own. They can set those goals. They can go after them. That kind of single-minded focus. Gretchen Rubin is an upholder, which is never a surprise to me. She says, I'm going to write a book. She writes a book. I'm like, ugh. Yeah. Jealous. Then here's you. Diana's a questioner. She resists outer expectations and meets inner, but it's more nuanced than that because she always wants to know the why, right? You want to know why.
Well, yeah.
I'm not just going to arbitrarily do something. Why?
No. Yeah, exactly.
Why do you have to do it that way? I mean, you hear that voice come through, people who are listening hear that voice come through in our podcast because you'll do that. You'll just say why. And we're, the whole thing about being uniquely brilliant is asking why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love to channel my inner 3-year-old.
You just made it a fine art, which I love. So we're going to circle back around to how you know this. The obliger is the person that you just say, get here when you want to. And they're like, what? They'll be 2 hours late or when you really wanted them there at 5. But if you say, I need you here at 5 and will you bring this dish? They will be there at 5 with the dish and everything will be like hunky-dory. The upholder, you say, it doesn't matter what you say, they're going to do it. So they say they're going to, I'll be there at 5, I'll have these dishes, then would you like for me to help you with this? Whatever you agree to, it's going to happen. There's not going to be any back and forth. No apologies are going to be necessary because they're just going to do what they said they were going to do. The questioner just will need to know why I need to be there. She uses an example in one of her blog posts about calling her husband to ask his she's filling out a form, she needed his work address. He goes, why? And she goes, I would have just done it.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. Why am I doing this? Give me a reason that makes sense, that's logical, and then I'll do it. Does that resonate with you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. I just love that one. So if you've got a kid that's always asking questions and they're not 3 anymore, that's their personality. That's their tendency. They want to know why, and if you give them a reason, they're really likely to do it. It's just taking that extra minute to get some buy-in.
Yeah, that's what it really is. A lot of it is.
I like the questioners. I mean, we all need the questioners in our lives that help take us out to the next thing. That have us question our rationale for doing things, and why are you doing that? Well, I've always done it that way. Why?
Yeah, questioners are big thinkers. They think
Ponder.
outside of the box because they know there's more than just the box.
Mm-hmm. So again, the cool thing to me about the questioner is that they meet their inner expectations because they know why. Mm-hmm. When you're doing something, you know why you're doing it, and because I watch you do it. It's pretty awesome. And then the questioning, I think you've rubbed off on me a little bit. I asked more questions. So that it's not really that you're resisting outer expectations. It's like you said before, tell me the why.
Yeah.
Tell me the why. Get my buy-in. If it makes sense, if it's logical.
Yeah, and if it works for me.
Yeah, right?
I mean, like, if you're going to have me come over and you're going to start dinner in the fourth quarter of, like, one of the biggest games.
Ohio State versus Penn State. You'd be like, no.
Sorry.
You've done that.
I have.
What did we do? We did something where you're like, well, if you did that day, I'm not coming because I'm not missing this game.
Yep.
And so I promptly did the same thing to somebody the next week. I'm like, sorry.
It's football.
College football, girls. College football. I don't miss it. You don't miss it. It's one of those things we have in common. All right, then the rebel, because the rebel's the tricky one. The rebel's like, you can't make me do it, and neither can I. I think it's like, they're the extremes. Like the Obliger is the extreme of the Upholder, and I've always felt like the Rebel is the extreme of the Questioner.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So what you do is you have to have the Rebel think it's their idea.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right? Now, you're good at this, so give us an example.
Well, I'm trying to think. Now you put me on the spot again.
Oh, no, I like to do that.
I know. I love it. Let me think. Well, a lot of times I would consider Case.
That's what I was thinking.
A Rebel, my son. And so a lot of times I'll ask him, I'll use my questioning skills to ask him, what's most important to him about something, and have him sort of look at whatever the situation is from a couple different sides.
Yeah.
And then, go back and which one's the most important to you? Oh, and put it back on him. It's got to go back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got to be, it's more than a buy-in. It's like, we do it a lot in coaching too.
This is why I do it. Yeah. Yeah. Like my client who realized that she thought she wanted to do one thing, and I knew no.
Yes. Yeah.
And she went through the process. I created a process so this could happen. Yay me. I don't always do that. And she came back to me and she goes, well, this is how this turned out. And she's an upholder.
Okay.
She's a total upholder. She's amazing. And she came back and because I don't hide it. Mm-hmm. When it happens, I'm like, thank you. I was putting money on this is the way it was going to work. A Rebel, like the example we heard in the video, which cracked me up, because my dad. This woman takes her dad to the doctor, and he gets prescribed some. We did this to my mom yesterday. I did this. He needed blood pressure medicine, and he as he leaves, he asks Star, well, why would I take the blood pressure medicine? She goes, why would you? Don't take it. He goes, no, I have to take it. But it was his thing. The doctor didn't tell him. Mm-hmm. She showed she didn't have anything invested in it, which I think is a key thing. And it's when you're parenting a Rebel, when you're working with a Rebel, it's a real important strategy for you to use, is that you have nothing invested in their answer, because that kills it.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
Then it becomes your power, your whatever you want to call it, as opposed to their idea that they came to independently.
And you give people so much freedom when you do that. When you ask a question, when you have them look at something from multiple angles, mm-hmm. without having your outcome attached to it.
Right.
So those people, the Rebel people, can really come up with something that you may never would have even dreamed of, mm-hmm. that might be the perfect answer.
Right. Well, you can picture that the number one question she gets is, how do you raise a Rebel child? Mm-hmm. My kid won't even wash their hands. Not mine. Mine is good at that. And she says that you paint that picture.
Yep.
Well, okay, but we're washing our hands to get the germs off so we don't get the flu. And if you get the flu, you can't go on this field trip, or you can't do this, or why am I nice to Grandpa? Well, do you like it when Grandpa comes over? Yeah. And the mm-hmm. kid, you get that buy-in, and then they make their decision. And you always give them at least a couple of choices.
Yes.
That's a really important thing. And listen, special ed teacher alert coming. I got so tired of people saying this is so much work. I'm like, which is more work? The tantrum or presenting this? Because here's what you're doing. When you communicate with somebody honoring their style, and for me, particularly when it's kids or people who are really struggling, like I have, I work with clients with mental illnesses. Mm-hmm. And the way I teach them strategies is I try to communicate with them in the way they can hear it, and they absorb the strategy. Because I'm teaching them a way to think. I'm teaching them a way to approach a problem. Same thing with your children. We don't want a world of people who walk in lockstep doing what everybody says just because they say it. We want people who can reason through things, who can think of other people. Who, when you're asking that, when you're telling that child about washing their hands, because the kids at school are sick or whatever, you don't want your baby brother to get sick, and that teaches a way to think. It teaches them, because people are like, the Rebel thing, people are like, well, that's not how the real world works. And I'm like, but you're training them so they can get out in the real world and have strategies for dealing with when they don't want to do it.
Well, one of the things, too, that's really important, I think, for a rebel is to put them in charge of something. Give them a leadership position because then they automatically own it. And then they have to follow through because they've got this position.
Right.
That used to be a great strategy that they used to do with my son at school because he would get his work done or whatever, but his one teacher would put him in charge of other students for helping them study or work with the gardener or something else where it was something different and he could have this leadership, and then you're training leadership skills.
Right. So even if and I coach this with my moms, I'm like, look, find something your kid can do and give them 100% control. They're like, are you crazy? I'm like, no, just go do it. I'm like, you find something that's low risk.
Yep.
Do they eat on plastic plates? Then they put the plates on the counter. But you let them do it however they want to do it. If they stack them up and they're gross, who cares? They stacked them up, they're on the counter. You have to in all of these things, you have to detach. That's probably the right word. You have to detach from your expectations of. You have to detach from the word.
Yes.
From the word that we hate more than any other word should. Mm-hmm. It should be this way. Who says?
Oh, exactly.
All you're doing is cutting people out when you say should. Now, like I said, I'm an obliger/rebel, but I didn't always tap into that. I had this moment this morning when I realized that middle-aged women who go through this big middle-aged thing and, they get all crazy and you can't make me do anything. There's this thing called obliger rebellion where you've been meeting these expectations, you have these goals, people are holding you, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it, and you do it. And, women do this more than anybody. You do it, and then all of a sudden you're like, done.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Done. My hand's raised. Because, I had expectations. I met those expectations, whether I wanted to or not. Boom, 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 boom. And then one day, usually happens on your 50th birthday plus 1 minute, women go, no, incorrect. And it's a very powerful thing. But your children can be the same way. Your relatives can be the same way. I used to give 116 orders. Well, you do this. This needs to go here. Here's where this goes. But this plate goes on this table. It's supposed, make sure this looks like, this window looks like this. Oh my goodness. Right?
Oh yeah.
Right? And as soon as I stopped doing it, it got much better. So much better that one of my sisters asked my husband, what did you do with my sister?
Well, yeah, but you're also, when you stop doing that, you're giving the other person such a gift.
Right.
That you're giving them the gift of trust and, letting them have their own creativity and doing something that maybe even more awesome than you could have even imagined.
Well, and that's exactly what happened. Now, there are times I believe firmly, and all the volunteers out there listening to this will probably agree with me. When I was in charge of volunteers, I told them exactly what to expect. And, here's what needs to happen. Just make it happen. But here's what you can expect and we'll be ready for you. I quit organizations that didn't honor that. That would change it at the last minute because these are people coming from work. At school so much. It's moms coming from work, picking up the kids at daycare, getting here. They just want to know, tell me what to do, Becky. And I'll do it. And, but if you pull the rug out from under somebody by changing all that up, no. So, it's about knowing the situation, reading the situation, right? Reading the situation.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's the tendencies. Again, we have upholders, obligers, questioners, and rebels. Got them all four.
All right,
so the third communication style we're going to talk about is love languages.
Yep. And really what it is, love languages are, in my opinion, are how people feel appreciated. Mm-hmm. So there are 5 love languages. There are words of affirmation. There are acts of service. There are gifts. There's quality time. And there's physical touch. So we'll take the Thanksgiving thing.
Yeah.
If you're going to a Thanksgiving event and your person is gifts, bring a hostess gift.
Right. So if you're coming to my house for Thanksgiving, Diana, what do I want?
Oh, let's see. Which one are you?
Words of affirmation.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
That's right. Yeah.
More than...
No, actually, yeah.
I'm a combo, but I'm really... Because I like that praise, man. Mm-hmm. Give me some praise. I can do anything. You give me, you praise me. Just that's all it takes. Boom, I'm off to the races.
So so a hostess like Becky, you would tell them how awesome the meal is throughout the meal.
Or when you leave, I had an awesome time.
And they're the perfect person to send a thank you note to, because they will really appreciate it. They will put it on their refrigerator.
That's right. That's right. Or my card holder.
Absolutely. Acts of service people. They're the ones help clear the table, help do the dishes. You know, give them a chance to interact with everybody else. They love that. Quality time. Go hang out in the kitchen. Don't leave your hostess in the kitchen just doing stuff. Go talk.
And you know it's this person who values quality time when he or she says to you, "Hey, come on in the kitchen with me." And you go, "No, no." They said that because that's what they value. That's what they value. That's how. It's not what they value. It's how they feel valued.
Yes,
it's how they feel valued. That you would take your time out from being with everybody else and come in and spend time with them.
Yeah, they really, really love that. And then the last one is physical touch. And physical touch is one of those that's kind of interesting. They're either the person that likes the hug or the one that absolutely does not. It all depends on who that person is.
And this is what you were struggling on with me, right? Is because that's one of my huge ones. But it comes down because I always want to hug. I always want to touch. I mean, it's what I miss.
Yes.
So,
and it's one of mine. But there's also for me, being the introvert. There's the boundaries. There's the trust and all that other stuff. And and it's really, if you have a kid who's physical touch, and there's some aunt somebody or somebody that they see once a year, that's freaky.
Yeah.
For a kid. If they don't see these people all the time and, go give them a hug, go give them a kiss, all that stuff. That's going to freak the kid out. That's going to cause anxiety.
Right. And it's teaching them to hug strangers. I don't care if you're your aunt. If you see them once a year, that's a stranger. Sorry. Sorry. Shake a hand.
Yeah, well,
shake a hand.
Yeah, or,
And if the aunt, goes for the cheek, somebody, knock her down. I mean, But serious. I like, the touch one is really powerful. Because they've done, research-based studies on the power of touch if you're a waiter. So when you are working with a customer and you just touch them on the shoulder, only the shoulder works, your tip usually goes up 10%.
Oh, wow.
I mean, and that's research-based stuff. So it just shows how powerful languages can be. Because I always feel like that touch means I see you. I hear you, And it's interesting.
Yeah, that's how you're acknowledged.
That I see you. And because, words of affirmation, how do you do that? Acts of service, well, that's the basis of what you're doing, but there's no gift and there's no quality time, but there's that I see you.
Well, you know what, though? A quality time person would see that as they're taking a moment.
Yeah.
And I have been to restaurants before where, and I'm quality time, but where the waitress has written me a message.
Oh yeah, I love that.
And you definitely would because your words of affirmation. But I saw it as she took time to write that on my check. And so I interpreted it a different way.
Yeah, I like that.
But still loved it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really important. And here's what we haven't said in all this. Is what you're listening to is their language cues. Come into the kitchen with me.
Yes.
Why? Well, we did for questioners. Why? Rebels, why? So that's a cue not to resist, but to go, oh, that's a hint.
Yes.
That's a hint. And by using that hint, you can decide what kind of experience you have. You're in control. Because if you're paying attention to the hints, then you have some ideas of how to proceed. But if you ignore them, then it's not going to be the experience you want. I mean, I've seen that play out over and over and over again, because then again, we're forcing our agenda and our style on somebody else.
Yes, yes. And some of the ways that may play out, like at a holiday dinner, gifts, they might display what you put.
Yeah.
They'll take the flowers, they'll cut out, and they'll make sure that they're somewhere prominent.
Right.
Because to show partly, hey, guess what? I got a gift.
Yeah, but because it's so important to me.
Yes. Yeah. Because it was so valuable.
It meant something to me. It meant a lot to me.
It was a huge value. And the acts of service, they might hint around that, could everybody pass their plates here? They may assign somebody.
Acts of service, babe, those are potluck people. Those are potluck people. I'm going to host it. Will you guys bring the food? That's an act of service person right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah.
I mean, I'm going to do this, but I need help. And kudos for knowing to ask for that. I think those are important words. Could you come in here and help me with this for a minute? Well, it's just go. Game's going to be there. Somebody's going to recap it for you. No problem. Just go.
Yeah, there'll be somebody that knows all the stats and the last 10 plays.
Right. That D person will be there knowing all that stuff. No, that wasn't the D person.
No, that was the C person.
The C person, yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah, the analyzer. Okay. Yep. So, gifts, quality time, personal touch. That's the hug person.
Touch, yeah, and the words, yeah.
Words of affirmation. Here's the thing. This is so great because I heard Gretchen talk about this on Happier. Your love language is easy for you. It's not easy for other people.
Oh, that's so true.
Right? That words of affirmation, easy for me. I mean, please. Sometimes my clients are like, just hush. I got it. You're happy with what I did, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to do it back. They're not understanding that I'm giving you all this because this is my communicate, thing. I have to figure out all the others too. I mean, any good coach does. But acts of service could be hard for me to figure out, or gifts. That's never a problem. Mine is quality time. It's hard for me to picture what quality time with me looks like for somebody else.
Interesting.
Not in a coaching situation. Yeah. But what does quality time with me look like for my mom? Because quality time is her thing. And the older you get, I think the more important quality time becomes. What does that look like? Is it I just come over and watch, a quarter of the football game with her? Does it mean when I took her to the doctor yesterday, we had lunch after? What are those? Isn't that funny that that's my thing?
That is, because quality time is my big one.
I know it is.
And one of the things that I had a hard time wrapping my head around that I was quality time because I do love to give gifts. And one of my friends told me, yeah, but you don't give regular gifts. Yeah. You take time. You take time to get to know the person you're giving them to. You take time to, there's a lot of time.
And your birthday's coming up. I'm just saying. Pressure. Just saying. There's a little pressure here. I've been pounding on my head going, Diana gives such good gifts.
But it's
I know. You're not putting that pressure on me. That's just me.
It's just
I made her blush, just so you know.
But yeah, no, it's just who I am. And my sister-in-law has always wanted me to do like a website for gifts giving.
Oh, I think so. Like that little bowl you brought me? Yeah, I love that. Oh, gosh. I need to put that new thing in there I was talking about. Yeah, good.
But yeah, so you have to take into consideration the other person. And how they feel.
And you just have to learn how to do it.
Yes.
Okay? You can't turn them into somebody else. I can't turn you into a words of affirmation person.
No.
And you can't turn me into a quality time person.
No. But we can appreciate each other and respect each other.
Well, and use that when we communicate. When I'm going against that questioner that you are, I can bring all of these together.
Yeah.
To use, right? Why? Well, I really like it when you do XYZ or whatever, or if we do this can happen.
And that's why I like a multitude of information.
Lenses, right? These are all different kinds of lenses.
Yes, I like that.
Right?
I like that.
These are all different lenses.
Because the more you know, the more you get to use.
Yeah. It just gives you such different trajectories to go in on, right? You're not just stuck with looking at this person through one dimension. Yes. Right? It's multidimensional. That's why I like
just
them
like everybody else. I mean,
just like we are. Yeah, just like we are. All right, well, that's... All right, so let's say the 5 love languages again to wrap that one up.
All right, words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
Nice. All right, so we gave you some clues for that, and we're going to take a minute here and figure out what our stamp of brilliance is, and we'll be right back.
Alrighty, today our stamp of brilliance is personality frameworks help us leverage our communication skills.
Amen. They really do. It's that label thing. Not that you have to apply a permanent stick label, but it just gives you I like that word, framework. It gives you a way to organize what you know.
Yes.
Right?
I like it. All right. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with a friend. Also, take a minute to rate it and leave a review on iTunes.
That's really important because that's how people find us on iTunes. It's really, really such a big help.
And then check out our website at uniquelybrilliant.me and sign up to have the podcast delivered directly to your inbox. Shoot us any thoughts, comments, or suggestions to talk to the number 2 us at uniquelybrilliant.me. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, and don't forget to like us. And we're now on YouTube, and you can find the links to all the personality frameworks in our notes.
On YouTube. You have to go to YouTube to get them.
All right.
Until next time.